Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery in our video studio today with a great new sight from the folks at Dialed. This is the Dialed Proof. So Dialed is a company that came out with this unique looking sight with this big void, they call it here, a couple years ago. And what they've done with the Proof, that's the latest version, is they have taken their first one and they've made all kinds of improvements to it. And this thing is now bulletproof. This one is an excellent, well-built, well-functioning sight. So I will start out by telling you right here, I have the bridge lock version. In other words, this is the sight that you're going to mount to any of the bows with the bridge lock mounting system. Currently, Matthews is the only one with the bridge lock system. So this is only going to work on those Matthews bows that have the bridge lock mounting system. Basically, you slide this into a dovetail that's cut in the middle of the riser, and then you lock it in place right there. But there are Picatinny rail mounting versions, and there are the standard versions where you have a bracket that bolts onto the side of the sight, and then you have a sliding dovetail in and out. So you've got whatever kind of sight you like to use, the Dialed Proof has a version of it for you. But, you know, Dialed, of course, they're known for two primary things. Is this big void right here, just cool, and allows you to have this nice big wheel. It just gives it a unique look. You can spot these Dialed sights anywhere if you're out there on the range. TAC events, very popular. And then the other thing they're known for, of course, is this slanted bar. And the reason for that slanted bar is that you can see it comes closer to the archer as you move down, as the sight moves down. It comes in. So what that does is that extends your distance, your shootable distance. If this were vertical, you wouldn't be able to shoot quite as far as it is when you bring the sight closer to you. You know, in the target world, one of the ways that you extend the shootable distance for your sight is you bring it closer to the riser. Well, Dialed is basically doing that for you, making it adjustable so your one sight allows you to shoot farther than if it were perfectly vertical. So that's why it's slanted like that. And that's why these things are real popular. You see a lot of them at TAC events where you might be shooting, 100, 110 yards. So that's a couple of things that make the Dialeds unique. Now, the mechanism here, the operating system, this is much nicer than it was on the original version. So my lock right here, this is where I'm going to grab my wheel. This is a right-handed sight, obviously. Grab my wheel here, twist the lock, boom. Now I can move up and down once I get it where I want it. Hit that, and now, one of the knocks on the earlier versions was that you could move the sight, and people didn't like that. This one, when you lock it down, it is locked. I cannot move that. I can't push it down. That was the other thing. You could push on it and it would move. Can't do that here. Locked is locked. So that's really nice. Then another feature here is their windage. So now they have this locking device here. I'm simply going to loosen that wheel, and then this is my windage. And it's a click system. I won't say it's super precise clicks, but it's nice. It's much nicer than they had on the original version. And you can make just micro adjustments left and right. When you're doing windage, you don't want to chase it and, make a move, have to come back, make a move, have to come back. These clicks are real nice. It's just going to move it a little bit. And they are, when you hit the bottom of the click, it is in a solid position there. So the windage here, I'm super impressed with. This is a big improvement on this sight for how it works. Once I get my windage where I need it, lock it down. Now, some other places where we saw some improvements are in adjusting first, second, and third axis. So let's start here with first. What are we adjusting with first axis? So with the sight, this is mounted on the riser. What we need to make sure is that this is perfectly vertical. And by vertical, I mean so that your scope is moving straight up and down. In other words, that it's not going off to the side like that a little bit, because then your left and rights are going to be affected as you move this sight in and out. You want to make sure that that on this plane, the scope is going straight up and straight down. So what's going to happen is we need to make sure that this part of the sight is level. We're mounted on the bow. That may or may not make this level. We want to make sure. So mounted on the sight, you're checking your levels. So I've got these two bolts here. I'm going to loosen them, and this bottom one sits in a slot. The top one here sits in a round hole. This one sits in a slot. And what I've got are these two screws on the side here. This one says first, and this one says first. And you can see they are positioned basically right where that bolt is. So what happens is when I'm trying to get it level, with adjusting this axis, what we're doing is we are pitching the sight effectively this way. The whole sight we're going to pitch like that, except for the bar, of course. So as I'm going to loosen one screw and drive in the other. What that's going to do is it's going to take the bottom and it's going to pitch it one way, or it's going to pitch it the other. That's how I'm making sure that I can get this perfectly vertical. So that's my adjustment. Once I get it where I need it, lock down both bolts, I am good to go. Now, coming around to the second axis, it's going to be the same system. You've got your two bolts right there. You can see this one is in a slot, and then I've got, try to get the light, second right there, and second right there. Again, same way as the first. I'm going to loosen these, and I'm going to loosen one, drive in the other. And that's what that's going to do is it is only, you can see, it's only going to affect this part. So how this moves up and down on the vertical bar. It's just going to shift this one way or the other. And again, that's the effect of that is going to be the scope this way or that way. Super simple. Once I get it all done, lock them down, and we're good to go. Third axis is going to be right here. And what that one is I'm going to loosen this one. Here, I'll just show you how that works. I loosen that one, and now watch this scope. See how I'm moving that? We call the third axis the swinging door. I'm moving the scope this way. So that is my adjustment there for the third axis. Once I get it set, I'm just going to lock it in, and then that doesn't move anymore. So real nice adjustments for first, second, and third axis. Now what you're going to notice here is I do have the 2-pin vertical version. That's the sight that I have. Pins are super bright. You've got your fiber housed in this clear plastic up here. I do have the light shade, so if I'm out there at the TAC event in Utah, out in bright sunshine, the middle of the day, these pins might start to starburst. I can just close this cover. You can see that. So as I do that, you'll see these pins just get dimmer. Yeah, so that cover there just allows you, if your pins are starbursting out in that bright sunshine, just slide this forward and it will quiet them down. Now, something else that we have on the Dialed Proof is, you can see here, we've got 2 wheels for your sight scales. And they're super adjustable. You're just going to loosen this. Here, I'll loosen it right now. You can see my indicators I've got right there. Well, to get my 0, wherever I want to get it, I can obviously spin this. And that's how I'm going to line them up with my markers, my indicators there once I get it where I want it. Tighten it down, and then it doesn't move. And the reason they have two of them there is so that you can run two different, if you shoot two different arrows, let's say you shoot an ultra light one for tack and you have a heavy one for hunting, you can just set up your two wheels for the two different arrows and then you're good to go. You don't have to mess with anything. You don't have to change sights. You can have one sight for two different arrow builds. So that's super handy. And then you're going to notice on one side of this version of the sight, I'm going to have 3 indicators. I only have 2 pins in there, but I've got 3 indicators. So if you have some kind of third reference, you know, a super long bomb out there, you know, maybe you're using some part of the inside of the sight, whatever, that can be your marker using that third indicator. On this side, I have a single indicator. So this is a 2-pin sight. For me, this is going to be my top pin. I'm just going to run that as a single pin on this side if that's the one that I'm using. So you can figure out how you want to orient using the different indicators. And different sites have different numbers of indicators as well. So, you know, you can figure out how you want to orient that. All right, speaking of sight tapes. So in the pack, you're going to get 40 sight tapes, and you can see the differences. They're based on bow speeds. Number 1 obviously is your fastest. Number 40 right here obviously is your slowest. Big difference there. And depending on which one, you know, these go out to 100. The farthest that these scales go to is 100 yards. You can always do an aftermarket one and have it go out to however far you want. The ones they send you, the farthest they go to is 100 yards. But what you're going to do to pick out which sight scale is you're going to use your, this is your setup tape. And so wherever you start, let's say I'm going to start here at 5. And let's say this is my 20 yards. Top pin, I've got this, now I'm hitting at 20 yards. So as I move down the scale, I want to shoot 60 yards is my goal. If you shoot just 20 and 60, that's going to give you a reference. Obviously, the more that you shoot in between there, I'm going to do 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 60. And what I'm going to do is wherever each one lines, so I'm going to say 5 is my 20. I'm going to go to my card here, and I'm just going to write there. I'm going to write 20 next to 5. Then as I come down to each of these numbers, I'm going to mark 30, 40, 50, 60. And so then somewhere along here, you know, let's say at position number 38 is my 60. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that card and I'm going to match it up. So my 5 is going to be at 20, and then I'm going to go down and find out wherever my 60 is. And so I said 37 was my 60. So according to this scale, assuming my 5 is 20 and 37 is 60, it looks like I'm going to be going for sight scale number 39. So that's how I'm going to pick out which one to put on the wheel. Of course, you put it on the wheel and then you really test every one of your distances to make sure that that is the right sight scale. If you have to adjust one way or another, you know, you'll have a good hand now that you have a sight tape and can shoot each one. You can see, you know, it's actually a little faster than that. I'd want to go down to 28 or 27. Oh, it's a little bit slower. I may want to go to 30 or 31. So that's how you're going to pick your sight scale. But using this card and matching it up with the sight tape, that's a real simple system there, so that you're not trying to figure something out with the round wheel. You can take what you learned from this and attribute it to this card right here. So, and just some thoughts overall on the sight. Again, this is kind of the second generation of it, and it just feels a little more solid. It is super light. This is the bridge lock version, of course, so this is probably going to be the lightest except for the Picatinny, but it's a lot lighter. It just feels super solid. These are made in the USA, really well built. So props to Dialed for their proof sight. You know, they took all the feedback that folks gave them from their original sight, incorporated it into this one, and just came out with a bulletproof sight that I'm expecting we're going to see a lot of these this coming summer, especially at TAX. And just to mention, as we were saying, there are different versions of this sight. Of course, I have the 2-pin vertical. There is a 3-pin vertical, 3-pin horizontal, and a 5-pin horizontal. So those are the different variations of the scope that you're going to have. All right, so that is the Dialed Proof. Great new sight from the folks at Dialed. Real excited to see this one, to come from the concept that they introduced. Now, you know, honing it in, getting things exactly right. This is a great sight that they have here now. Again, to see the different colors, the different scope options, the different mounting options, whatever, be sure to click the link in the description below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click that bell to get notifications whenever we put out new videos. As always, if you have any questions, you can visit us at LancasterArchery.com.